but I didn't want to leave because we were doing so much cool stuff towards the end. Like we were going to play football at Wembley. I was going to every Champions League final. I went to Noel Gallagher's 40th birthday party. We going to all these great things. 15-year-old Robbie or 14-year-old Robbie could see me in Wembley warming up with John Aldridge. It was unbelievable. I had very low confidence when I was younger, low self-confidence, but I've worked at that, and I'm proud that I think that I know how to make myself happy.
Hello everyone, thank you for joining me again on the Football and Feelings podcast, speaking to the ever so lovely Robbie Knox today, the most wholesome creator on YouTube, if I don't mind saying so myself, and formerly of Soccer AM as well. Used to work on the show. Really great chat. We spoke about his time on Soccer AM, moving on to YouTube and the content he's been creating, and his own mental health, as well as the mental health of everyone, really. A really great chat, lovely bloke. Enjoy the episode. I'll post links in the description to look after your own mental health and all of that. Thank you very much. Cheers. Right, I'm delighted to be joined by you, Robbie, the first goalkeeper to win a trophy at New Wembley.
You've done your research, haven't you? Yeah, I don't like to talk about it, but that is technically true.
You should that's how I would start every conversation, to be honest.
Yeah, well, that for a year I did. To give people who don't know what you're talking about, which would be everyone, I used to work at Soccer AM at Sky Sports, and we had a Soccer AM team that played on the first time Wembley was open to the public. So you can't just open a stadium and host the FA Cup final, it turns out. You have to prove that it works at different capacities. So they had 20,000 people come along, members of the community and stuff, local residents and stuff, and 3 teams playing. We had a little round robin tournament one Saturday afternoon, and we won. And so, that is technically correct. I am the first goalkeeper to win a trophy at the new Wembley Stadium. And that FA Cup final, I was so annoying. I was just thinking, anyone who sat next to me in the path, I was going, what's going out in Petr Cech's head now when he's out there? Unless you played on the pitch, you can't understand what he's doing, what's happening.
Did you keep a clean sheet?
No, in neither of the games I kept a clean sheet. I think I can't remember who scored against me. I found a DVD of it the other day, so I need to watch it. But I've never seen it back. I do remember doing a sort of one-on-one slide out at the feet of Simon Jordan. Remember the Palace chairman?
Oh, yeah.
A goal-scoring chance. And I remember being so out of position at one point, Mark Bright, who was on one of the other teams, started laughing at me because I played Sunday league goal. I'm by no means good, or did at the time, but I was just so far out my 6-yard box in some goal out scramble, just started laughing. It was an amazing day, but a bit weird.
Bit of a monk from Meme Machine.
I've not seen it.
With the film. Don't worry. Oh, Vinnie Jones classic.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
I've
Robbie,
heard of it, never seen it.
Lockdown, loving it or hating it?
It's a mixed bag. Like, there's things I'd like to do, and I'll preface this with as everyone starts a conversation about this by saying, obviously, for some people, this situation is really bad.
Yeah,
but I'm in no way underestimating that. But for me personally, it's not that different to my normal life. And in a way, it's slightly offensive that everyone's going, oh my God, I've got to just sit around the house all day, and I find it really hard. I go, mate, that's my life. I'm talking about. But no, I mean, no, it's joking aside, I think it's all right. I mean, I'm homeschooling 3 kids, so like, I firmly believe teachers should be on like 800 grand a year, having done it for about a month. It's all, I've sort of got less free time now than I normally do because the kids aren't at school or nursery. But I'm not finding it too bad. I'd like to go to a pub, beer garden, have a drink. I'd like to, I don't know, just be able to see other human beings. I lent a what do you call it? A pressure washer to my friend Harry, who lives around the corner, the other day. And he drove around to pick it up, and I just put it out the front of the driveway and then waited in the house and so I come and pick up. But just seeing another human being, albeit 15 meters away, was so exciting. Like, don't go. Things like that. How are you coping with it?
Not too bad, to be fair. Not too bad. The first week or two, couldn't stand it. Felt like I was going insane. Just that idea of being closed in. And I think at that point as well, I hadn't come to terms with the fact that this could last for quite a long time. So so I was sort of anxious about that, but now not too bad. And I feel like
you look younger than me. I think I'm at a stage in life where I don't go out that much because my kids will get up at 6 a.m, and it's horrific if you go out anyway, sort of thing. So I imagine it would be tougher for a lot of people who are maybe younger and more used to going out.
Well, for me, this was actually my semester abroad. I'm meant to be in Budapest studying right now.
Oh no!
And I've spent 3/4 of that semester in Essex, so peaks and troughs.
That's a shame. Yeah, I've been to Budapest. Which one's that? That's Hungary.
Hungary, yeah.
Yeah, Bucharest is Romania, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I've been to Bucharest. I've not been to Budapest. Okay.
I'd recommend it. Lovely place.
Okay.
Lovely place. But yeah, I feel like this lockdown, half of the nation is going to come out super fit with new hobbies intact. The other half are going to come out having completed Netflix to the highest of their ability.
Yeah. I'm somewhere in the middle. Like the first couple of weeks, I did nothing but eat and drink, and I was like, I don't know why, because I don't normally drink at home, like booze. But I was starting. It'd be like about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I go, probably have a beer now, something like that. I don't know why I started doing it. Probably just boredom. But then that's because I do this Cooped Up podcast with Lloyd Griffith every day, and we record that at 5:10. It's quite good having that structure. Because I think, I can't really get hammered before 5 o'clock. But I've really sort of, I've not really. I've sort of knocked that on the head. Not really consciously, but just it's sort of calmed down a bit, settled down. So I'm not really drinking much, and I'm doing a bit more exercise and all those sort of things that you're supposed to do. So I think I'm turning the corner of what was a horrific weight gain in the first 2 weeks.
Superb podcast with Lloyd Griffith. I'll recommend that to anyone. Very sausage heavy. Lots of sausage
stuff. A lot of talking about what we've cooked, and sometimes I'm thinking, oh god, we're talking too much about what we've cooked. But then the truth is, we've literally done nothing else apart from cook food that day. So when something does happen, like there's a day I got 2 deliveries through the post, and I'm like, this is incredible.
This is great content.
The content we're going to have. This is going to be a breeze. Yeah, so no, it's I enjoy doing it, and it literally takes me. I mean, Lloyd edits and uploads it, which doesn't take long, but it literally takes me half an hour a day, and I'm not doing anything else. It's quite easy. Yeah,
great stuff. Before we get on to the sort of work you're doing now, I'd quite like to go through the Soccer AM years. Yes. How did you end up on the show? Did you always have like an eye on working in television?
When I was at university, I was at University of East Anglia in Norwich, and from 1995 to 1998. And I did the student radio there. I was studying economics, but I had no interest in doing economics. At the time, it was free to go to university. So, in fact, I got a grant in my first year because we had to go to a lower income sort of thing. So it's changed a bit for younger people now, and I feel bit unfairly for them. So I just wanted to go to university, and I knew I didn't want to go and work in a bank or use an economics degree, but I was decent enough at economics. So I did that. Didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do, but then did the student radio while I was there, and then thought, okay, I'd like to go into that. Went to Canada for a year, came back and got a job in a TV studio, just making tea and stuff. Did that for a year, and then a guy who I knew from the student radio, a guy called Dan Trelfer, he was working for a company called Avalon that do sort of comedy stuff. And they, at the time, were Tim Lovejoy, who presented Soccer AM and produced Soccer AM's agent. And he told me, he knew I watched Soccer AM anyway, and he said, oh, they're looking for someone. Why don't you send a CV off? So I sent a CV off and got an interview. Had an interview. They offered it to someone else. He couldn't start in time, so I got the job. So that was it basically. But I got the job in about 4 days from first sending off a CV. So, yeah.
Wow, great stuff. How did you feel when you started there? Because obviously you were quite young, and that often goes hand in hand with a bit of confusion about your life path and like low self-esteem sometimes for some people. How did you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, I don't think it was the best environment for, it it wasn't the most encouraging creative environment, perhaps at times. Like in this, and Tim, who was producing at the time, has said to us since then. He said, "I'm really sorry, I was took that far too seriously." And it was a mixed bag because I learned so much from him and learned so much from doing that, but it wasn't like, hey, there's no such thing as a bad idea. It was like if you two had a bad idea, you'd get ripped into something like in a jokey sort of banterish, piss-taking way. But it did make you sort of hold back some things that you thought were borderline.
Of course.
Sometimes. I'm not sure it was perfect like that. In terms of when I first started, I'd not really done a job that was important before. Not that it's like saving lives, soccer. You know what I mean? There wasn't much responsibility is probably the word I mean. Like I've worked in Tesco's and cafes and stuff like that, and as a runner of a TV studio. But this is sort of doing things for a live TV show. And my first job was getting sort of props, and the main was getting props and costumes in. But just because it was the way it had been done before, we had a script meeting that finished around 12:30, 1 o'clock on a Friday. And I wasn't allowed to get any props or costumes in before that. So I had from about 1 p.m. till the shop shut at 5 to get everything and get a courier to go and get them from West London sort of thing and get them over there. It was mad in hindsight. Like that was the way it was done. So there was a lot of pressure. And there wasn't really anyone as well saying, I wasn't given a list saying these are the things you do. I'd be in this script meeting and I'd just be writing down, okay, we need a fireman's costume. We need this sort of thing. So then you'd be on the show and it'd be quite nerve-wracking. You just not be going, like, if someone might go, so where's this? And you go, what? We need that. And you wouldn't know, there might be a communication breakdown. I can't remember any particularly bad things where I forgot a massive part of the show or anything, but there was... It was relying. There was no sort of checks and balances sort of thing. There was no measures in place to make sure that that I'd got everything. So there's a lot of pressure. But also, since then, I've never felt I've got too much work on because of that pressure. And I know now that if you do feel overwhelmed, and I do this now, what I will do is I'll write down, if I'm starting to feel a bit anxious or whatever, I will write down a list of everything I've got to do and just work through it, like in order of urgency or importance or whatever like that, or go for a few easy wins first of all if it helps you go. And you can achieve so much if you do just blitz something and have a system in place. I remember having to I've been there about less than a month, and I had to get, for no money, a horse to come to the studio at Isleworth at 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning to record some little pre-recorded gag. And I just got the yellow pages out and found farms in the area and just phoned every farm, because someone's going to have a horse and be bored or watch soccer and go, all right, yeah, that sounds all right. You just got to phone around. You can get anything if you put in the hours to do it.
That's amazing. So that you must have had some of the most interesting shopping lists known to man. Yeah,
there was this company, I can't remember what they're called. There was a costume company, and they are... the guy who we dealt with, he was quite sort of posh sounding. I never met him. He was quite sort of, posh he probably were, but it was very sort of, they did all period dramas and stuff like that. So they were all into, they loved their job because they wanted to get authentic costumes for Jane Austen things or all this sort of stuff, or other things. And I'd phone them up and go, I need a red tracksuit for a bloke from Liverpool and this like that. And you could tell they hated me, or not me personally, but they hated that they had to do this. But we were spending about $1,000 a week in costumes. So they couldn't tell us to go away or anything like that. And it was so mad. Like we'd be hiring costume for 30 quid a week for a year or two. But why don't we just buy it? The stuff would cost so I changed a few things when I was there. But it was a weird shopping list. Yeah.
How did you sort of deal with that pressure that you had? Because I imagine things were a little bit different then. Was there any sort of strategies in place in terms of dealing with staff well-being or anything like that?
No, and I think it's probably got better, but they Sky definitely at the time, or Soccer End at the time, didn't have. It's not how it would happen now, I don't think. So, for example, I would work it was Tuesday to Saturday was the working week. Tuesday was all right, probably like maybe 9:30 till 6 you might work. Wednesday maybe 9 till 7. Thursday probably 8 in the morning till 8 at night. Friday you'd come in at 8 and you would be unlikely to leave before 1 a.m. sort of thing a lot, and then you'd be back in at 6, 7 in the morning the next day. So there were times when I'd be driving home, listening to the radio. I'd go home, go to sleep, come back, and it'd be the same DJ on the radio as doing the same show, and I've had my sleep. So there were a couple of times I worked through the night. I remember one occasion, which was the very first show of the season, and I was working. It got to like 4 a.m. I was thinking, I've still got hours work. There's no way I'm going to get any sleep here. So I was still editing at 6 when everyone else came back in. I don't know why. It was only me there. Anyway, we vary with who would have a lot on, but and then I remember I was doing a character called Fixtures Man on the show, and I had to write it in the morning, do it, and then when I watched it back after a couple of days, after a bit of sleep on the Monday, I had no recollection of it. I had no idea what I was going to say. Nothing. It was like watching someone else do it because I just didn't know what was going on, and I was writing, and I wrote it having had no sleep and recorded it on a live TV show, and yeah, no idea. Yeah.
So do you think that was? Sorry. I was
going to say I don't think that would happen now. I think now they're a lot more sensible about hours and that. And it's not safe to be working those sort of hours and driving home afterwards and things like that. So I think it's improved since then.
Of course, yeah. Obviously, on screen, especially in its prime, I know a lot of people throw that term around, but the show sort of epitomised lad culture or contributed to what we know as lad culture. But was that a reflection of the same culture backstage, or was that quite carefully constructed?
I think lad culture, in some ways rightly so, gets a bad name now. And that's because all the dickheads got involved. And that's what happens with everything that's good. Like Shoreditch in London used to be good fun, and now it's full of like blokes and stag do's and stuff like that sort of thing. It's a mess. In the early days, and this is so I was going to uni 95 to 98, so that real sort of Britpop lad culture sort of time, it was very inclusive, because from before then there wasn't really, I mean, there's obviously exceptions, but it wasn't the culture that women would go to the pub and have a pint and watch the football. It wasn't that, but this was much more, in many ways there's a sort of ladette side of it as well, and it definitely wasn't for everyone, and there's a lot of people who probably didn't fit in with it, but I think it was quite inclusive with this men and women all together doing that gender-wise. But then it's when it gets later on, and it's really lads sort of stuff that it gets a bit bad. The culture behind the scenes, it wasn't, there was for desperate want of a better word, banter sort of thing around. And there was sort of running jokes that we'd always have. And it was a really good, fun place to work most of the time. So I suppose it was laddish in that respect, but not in the sort of way that I think you think of lads now, which is the sort of WKD advert sort of.
Yeah, fair enough. Was there ever much snobbery from other more formal football shows at the time?
Yeah, definitely. Because I think there was. I mean, I accept it's not for everyone. Nothing is, but it was. There's a lot of things that I think Soccer AM changed even before I got there, like music and over football. Like before Soccer AM, I think I feel I might dispute this, but I would say you didn't just get good music played over football stuff. It was always very literal. It was Republica ready to go before a big match or something like that. It was all these sort of literal, you've got this game, so you have this song that has these lyrics in sort of thing. It wasn't just that. I'm sorry, I've forgotten what the question was. What did you have?
Oh, Christ, I forgot. Snobbery from other shows.
Snobbery, yeah. I mean, yeah, there was a bit. I mean, there's something that gets bandied around a lot that's a review on When Saturday Comes about Tim Lovejoy's book, which I've never read Tim's book, just because I didn't ever have a copy of it. But in fact, I've got one now, but I found it somewhere. So I've never read it, but it's this review that sort of hammers it a bit, but it sort of misses the point a bit, because I think our attitude was always very sort of inclusive. It doesn't matter if you are someone if you're a girl who watches World Cup games with her boyfriend and nothing else all year, or if you're someone who goes to every game. Whereas I think there's part of it, and I really enjoy when Saturday comes. I think it's a great magazine. I read it. But that's a bit, I've always thought that was a bit more of a, come on, mate, you're not a proper fan if you don't go to watch the reserves on a Wednesday night sort of thing. We always used to laugh in the office about proper fans, all this sort of gatekeeping of football, like you can't, like people hammering Man U fans because they're from wherever sort of thing, and all this. And it's, we were always very sort of inclusive. And also, so yeah, I think there was a snobbery in answer to your question from some places. And there were managers that wouldn't let us have players on. I think Gerard Houllier, Alex Ferguson, Wenger as well. I think I might be wrong there. I think none of them wanted their players on the show because they didn't think. I can't remember which one of it. One of them said they didn't take football seriously enough. But then Jose Mourinho turned up and loved Soccer AM, so it sort of changed a bit. So yeah, a bit of snobbery there. Yeah, I'd say so.
There was I remember quite a few years ago, a picture went around my local area of Jose Mourinho and a local McDonald's for some bizarre reason. It's nowhere. It's on the east coast of Essex. It's nowhere near any club he would have played at, and he must have just drove that far out to get to a McDonald's where maybe he thought no one would recognise him. I'm not too sure. Didn't work though. Didn't work.
Who knows? Yeah.
Was football a big thing in your life before the show? Because for so many people, it's sort of it's a catalyst for conversation, really.
Yeah, it was. And it was, I grew up in Kent in the 1980s, so I supported Liverpool and I support Liverpool. And it was a really big thing growing up, playing football, talking about football, playing football computer games. And then going to Soccer AM was obviously, like a show I watched, was amazing. And then you'd meet all these players, like John Aldridge was one of my heroes growing up, and when we played at Wembley, he was on our team. And before the game, and I was in goal. I was a bit nervous, obviously, because you're in front of 20,000 people, and you're in goal. It's quite possible to have a shocker. Mm-hmm. So I was a bit nervous, and John Aldridge said to me, "Robbie, do you want me to warm you up?" And I was like, okay. And I was thinking, I have no idea what that means. I don't know if he's going to give me a massage. I don't know if he's going to do some exercise or something. And he just took me to there's a warm-up room around that. There's a changing room in Wembley. And then you go through a door and there's a little AstroTurf, just a room with AstroTurf on and footballs. And they were just pinging balls at me to catch. And I was just thinking, God, if like 15-year-old Robbie or 14-year-old Robbie could see me in Wembley warming up with John Aldridge, it was unbelievable. Again, I forgot what your question was.
Was football a big part of your life?
Football, sorry, that was it. Sorry, yeah. I'll try and stay on track. So it definitely was. And I think it's quite useful it certainly was, I don't know what it's like now, but for a man, for a boy growing up, it's quite useful to be into football because it gives you that sort of, I wasn't particularly cool kid, I wasn't particularly strong or anything like that, but I think if you can talk to me about football, it sort of helps a little bit in those sort of laddish macho things, because at that sort of time you care a lot more about that than you probably do when you get older.
Of course, yeah. It's sort of like the metaphorical, or literal in some senses, the metaphorical TV that all of our furniture faces in on, and we can talk about that, and then it leads on to other conversations. That's what I like about it. I
remember being in Mexico in about 21. I went traveling, or 22. I went traveling around Mexico for a month. And I was just in Mexico City, I think I was, at Guadalajara. And I was at a bus stop queue, and there was a guy there, and he was sort of smiling as he asking where we're from. And I didn't speak any Spanish. I was going, UK, Scotland, Scottish, Scotland, England, just saying anything. He went, no, we go, like Bobby Charlton. I was like, okay, yeah. And I was like naming Mexican footballers, Hugo Sanchez or someone. I can't remember. I was sort of named Mexicans. He go, yeah. And we were just literally, I was just having a conversation with a bloke at a bus stop in Mexico, and didn't speak his language, he didn't speak mine, and we were just listing footballers we knew from the other one's countries.
That's amazing. I love that. I lived in Thailand for a few years, and I used to go and watch like the local football there. I had a local team that I supported, And because there wasn't that
Whereabouts
many
in Thailand were you?
in Bangkok.
Okay.
Yes, I lived there, and because we were not many foreigners went to watch this team, we'd always have like crowds of people just swarming us, just shouting English names like Gerard, Rooney, very good, and it was just amazing. Like we had some of the best nights that we could have had just from meeting people talking about football.
I knew a girl who taught English in China years ago. This would have been early 2000s, and she was teaching Chinese Air Force trainees. So like kids that were going to go into the Air Force, and then they'll be like 17, 18, they do their practical stuff, they learn all their English, they do all this stuff here, and then they go to Australia to do their flight training. And they'd all given themselves English names that they'd had throughout school. Everyone got an English name, but they weren't like Dave or Steve or Liam or anything like that. They were things like petrol or just any English words. Yeah. She said like loads of them were called Beckham. And there was one kid in the class, it's like a big 17-year-old guy called Sex. And he didn't know what it meant, but she sort of said to him, she's going to, you can't really be called Sex, because if you go to Australia and you're in a bar and someone asks you your name and you tell them you're called Sex, you could end up in fights.
Yeah, of course. Like
yeah. So this guy's apparently this guy's quite upset. It's like being told you have to change your name after 5 years. So she said, well, I really don't think you should actually change it. Apparently you just change it to Beckham like the rest of them. But she said as well, we were going completely off topic, but she said it was so brutal there. She said if you were late once, you got put back a year. Like, so it was so harsh. Wow. And their families would have saved up to get this person away. The whole family would have worked to get this person there. They had one chance, and if they were late, they weren't allowed boyfriends and girlfriends or anything like that. They would get put back a year, but not start the year again. They'd have to sit at a desk for a year doing nothing until the class came back round and caught up with them.
That's insane.
It wasn't like they could study the thing again. They did so. And she obviously would never cross anyone up for this. She shouldn't ruin someone's life. But so if someone would come in like this, they'd be crying like these like big like Air Force like strong muscular guys like in tears and all this. She go, don't worry, calm down. It's okay. I won't say anything. It's fine. You're on time. Don't worry. And that, but it was such a weird atmosphere.
Wow, that's insane. Christ. Yeah, I was teaching English in Bangkok, teaching younger children, and it was the same thing with the names. I had one kid called Beer, one kid called Bryce. One kid was called Fat, bless him. And it was just ironic because he was as well. So it was just a shame. He's been set up to fail with that English name.
My brother taught English in Korea, in Seoul, for about 10 years. So, and it was the same thing with him as well. And he said he really liked as well T-shirt slogans that they'd have, like they called Konglish. So it's like they've just gone random. They've obviously just got into the internet and grabbed a bit of text, and these things would say things, and sometimes it'd be quite offensive. They would say that kids are wearing, they wouldn't make sense. Like something like the price of fish has gone down. T-shirt in English, and then they're just obviously wearing because it looks cool.
Yeah, I saw a few of them. I saw one that said, "Be who you are, but not what you don't be to be you." You know? the well-known saying.
Yeah, I've got that on a cushion downstairs.
Yeah. So obviously at the moment with no football on, there's been a bit of a lack of news to keep up to date with. I've been reliving some emotional moments on the Football and Feelings social media pages, good and bad emotions, just because I want to feel it again. But for you, is there a moment that stands out as the most like emotional football moment that you've witnessed?
I'll give you a good and bad one. I remember when I was a kid, and Liverpool. And I was more invested in it as a kid. I was like, now I'd be less upset. But when Michael Thomas scored in the last day of the season in the 92nd minute to give Arsenal the title in 1989, I think it was, that I remember crying then. You know, sad. And I hated Arsenal for years after that. I don't anymore. So there was that on one end, and on the highs, I was in Istanbul when Liverpool won the Champions League final after being 3-0 down to Milan. So that was quite good as days out go. Yeah. I was sat with John Scales, who I don't remember, used to play for Liverpool and Spurs and England, I think, as well. And he, I remember talking to him at half time when we were 3-0 down. I was going, it's not over. I started a little bit of glue. I was going, it's not. If we can get a goal straight after half time, it's not beyond possibilities and all that. And then obviously, you know what happened. It was unreal, unbelievable.
Mate, well done to you for keeping that optimism, because I'm sure a lot of people.
I mean, it was very low. I'm naturally glass half empty. I support Scotland as well. My family are all from Scotland, so I tend to go to most Scotland home qualifiers. I don't go to friendlies. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I didn't go to any this last campaign because of that Nations Cup thing. I thought, I'm not going to go to a Nations Cup because I'm not going to spend a couple £100 going up to Glasgow, getting a hotel, going to the game to watch us play Israel in some Nations Cup thing. But then because we won our group and we got a playoff place, when it came around to the home qualifiers, I was like, I'm not going to go to all the home qualifiers because there's no way we're going to win our group. We'd be just going for a playoff place anyway. We've already got that. So I just won't bother. So I haven't been to a Scotland game for about 3 years. But I think because Scotland is so bad, you have to be slightly optimistic to want to go. Right? Like because we've had such a bad run. It's been 1998 was the last time we reached a major finals, or European Championships, or a World Cup, and so you have to sort of have a little bit of hope in order to bother going.
That all surprises me a little bit with Scotland, because you always see like individual players making their way around the leagues, and they're always brilliant players. But
yeah,
I mean,
we've struggled. It's only sort of now, I think. Like I think Andy Robertson is a genuinely world class. I think he's one of the best fullbacks in the world, and I don't think we've had someone who's been that level. And I think I don't know. I'm very optimistic at the minute of us, but when I was younger, we had Souness, Dalglish, Hansen, and it was Jim Leighton. There was sort of a lot of really big names. So it's certainly changed a bit since then. We've not really had that sort of level of players. But then there's teams that don't have big names that have done better than us. So I think it's, I don't know. We've come close. Hopefully soon.
Yeah, it seems like a very Scottish luck to have Kieran Tierney and Robertson to both become superb.
you wait for ages for a good player. Then yeah.
Okay, so back onto Soccer EM. Why did you leave? Or was there any sort of bad blood, or was it just the right thing for you?
I'd been there for 7 years, and I think you get bored of anything after that sort of time. It was a brilliant job to have in your 20s, but I couldn't do it now because you're working, no holiday during the football season. And I love skiing, so I mean, I could only do like a weekend skiing a year, something like that. And no Friday nights for most of the year. Your Saturdays are sort of written off as well because you're knackered. You might be able to go to sleep in the afternoon and go out in the evening, but you're tired. It was quite hard work. But I didn't want to leave because we were doing so much cool stuff towards the end. Like we were going to play football at Wembley. I was going to every Champions League final. I went to Noel Gallagher's 40th birthday party. We were going to all these great things. And I didn't want to leave and then be chatting to the other guys and then going, oh, yeah, no, we're playing in the World Cup final tomorrow or whatever sort of cool thing would be happening next. And then, so Tim Lovejoy, who said he was producer and presenter, he got an offer from Simon Fuller, who managed Spice Girls and looked up David Beckham and stuff, to start an internet TV thing. Before there were sort of people whose job it was to be a YouTuber, something that wasn't really a thing at the time. And he said to me and a lot of the other lads, do you want to go and do it? And for me, it was a really easy because I wanted to leave anyway. And it was a good time because that was sort of the end of that chapter. And so I think for some of the others, it was a bit more of a difficult decision. I mean, Fenner's left with us now. He's back there now. Sheephead's back, I think, or was back. I think I'm not spoken to him for a bit, but I think he's still there. So for me, it wasn't that hard to go. But no, there wasn't really any bad blood there. There were some people not involved that Tim did ask. Tim could only take a certain number of people, so he took maybe there's probably about 6 of us, I think, who left or something. But then some of the other guys there, they sort of knew something was going on because we were getting called away from meetings with Tim about it. Mm-hmm. But he'd said, mate, just promise not to tell anyone. So you're in this awkward situation where you promised that you wouldn't say anything to someone, but then your mates are going, another secret meeting, sort of thing like that. And you're sort of, mate, and I just said, talk to Tim, and just or whatever like that. And it was, I understand what was happening, and it had to sort of be that way, but it was a bit weird and awkward. But certainly no bad blood with anyone there. No, they get on with everyone from there. Yeah, I know I'm still in touch with Tim. I speak to most days on WhatsApp because we're in a group together for something. There's an old Soccer AM group, my WhatsApp group that we're all on as well, sort of thing. So yeah, I'm in touch with everyone. I see Tubes a lot.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, really enjoyed the Tubes sort of heart attack video because it's the first time I've seen that sort of topic discussed in such layman terms. Without it being, I mean, credit to him, obviously. So without it being, sometimes it feels dehumanized talking about someone having a heart attack. You sometimes hear the scientific side of it, which people struggle to relate to. So that was really nice. Yeah,
and I think it's if you've got two friends talking about something, you can joke about stuff. Like, I mean, context is everything, isn't it? So someone said the other day say that everyone is in a WhatsApp group that could end their career. Like, if it got leaked, you know what I mean? There's things you'll say to your mates that you would never say and should never say to anyone else. I'll give you an example. I remember my best friends growing up, Arthur Rambo, she was my next door neighbour growing up. She's the oldest friend I've got. I met my wife through when she was getting married. I remember she said, invite me to the wedding and all this. And I remember saying that she's married. She's Indian. She's marrying a white person. And I remember saying, "Oh, you got to come to the wedding." And I said, "No, I'll come along, even though I obviously don't believe in mixed race marriages." And that's obviously a joke because she knows I do. I've been on holiday with her and her husband, and it's a joke. So there, in that context, it's fine. But if I said that in public without explaining it like I have just now to someone, or went out to someone randomly and said, "I don't believe in mixed race marriages," even if I thought it was a joke, it would be terrible. So context is absolutely everything in that.
But I mean, you've got to be careful, Robbie, because you've got an out of context page, haven't you?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's bad. Yeah, let's hope they don't see this. So you're right. You do have to be careful. But that, I can't remember what we were talking about. Why was I telling that story? Something to do with
well, that was going to be my gateway into talking about YouTube, to be fair. So
okay,
that's what does the job. So YouTube is obviously, it's a world with quite a lot of plastic and malleable creators. I think I'd say it's fair to say, but you've always kept your content genuine. There's not any BS really. So, but do you ever feel the need to compete with that side, or do you ever get drawn into the dramatized side of the platform?
No, not at all. No, I don't know who anyone is on YouTube. Like, I know people who, because I'm friends with JaackMaate. I know people that have been in his videos. Like, I know who Morgs is because he's done a video on Morgs. I know there's huge people. And for 8 years I was filming, before I started doing this, I'd be filming big YouTubers that I'd had no idea, I'd never heard of before I went there and found it, and Calfreezy or Bateson and all these people. I had no idea anything about them because I didn't know anything of that world. But no, I got into it because one of the reasons being a guy, Will Brazier, I know, who works at Sporf. He's a presenter on sort of Sky things as well, youth Sky stuff. He was saying you should start a YouTube channel. I was going, no one's that interested, because at the time I only watched YouTube to see to sort of if I was going to learn how to change a plug or something, I do it for those sort of things. I never watched YouTubers. I didn't understand all the scope of stuff that was there. So Will said to me that why don't you do a channel? And I said, well, look, no one's going to be interested in me. It's all young people on there. They're not interested. He said, look, I don't want to be rude, come across rude, but I know what it's like being an 18-year-old starting uni, because there's 100,000 vlogs every September about it. Sort of thing. He goes, I don't really know what it's like being 40, because there's not many people doing that sort of thing. So, and also I think there's a because I grew up without social media and without the internet until I was 18. And it's obviously very different for people now. There's a sort of expectation for young people, or people feel a need to portray this good life on Instagram or whatever social media, when in reality we're all taking the bins out every week, sort of thing. I remember talking to Noel Gallagher at as name dropping for you, Soccer AM, and he'd been asked to do he says he's always getting asked people to come into his house and do these like at home with Noel Gallagher or something. He always says no, because he goes, the reality of being Noel Gallagher is really boring. He says you're sat around the house watching TV, taking the bins out, filling the dishwashers. It's the same as everyone else. It says it's much better having the rock star image of someone, something like that. So I think the sort of genuine doing things like that, I think is a more sensible way to do it. And I do interesting things. Like I'll go on a holiday with my friends to Canada to a great ski resort and have a brilliant time. But I think you've got to be honest and go, this is amazing, rather than that people try and pretend that their entire life is yachts and guns and bitches.
Yeah. There's something so wholesome and pure about it. But maybe it's only just me noticing more, but there seems like there's more wholesome creators coming through now, like Blue Van Man, food reviewer. Yeah, lovely bloke. Yeah. I'd love to speak to him one day. And food reviewer that True Geordie sort of talks about sometimes. So there definitely seems like there's a rise in that realism, I guess you could call it, which sounds strange.
I think so. Yeah, and like Lloyd Griffith, who I do keep up with, he did a video on the other day. He does his Premier League fan reaction videos that I edit for him. He did his own thing where he's done like changing the door handle on a on a washing machine and stuff like that. And I think because people are stuck in, they've got to sort of go this. And then you see things like Amanda Holden taking the bins out in a ball gown and stuff like that. I was doing the rounds and stuff. There's lots of things going on at the minute. But yeah, I think people like honesty in everything, and I think if you're honest about things, and as long as you make things entertaining. And also for me, because I work in making videos for brands and stuff like that, and companies, I quite often go in and tell them to do things and or suggest things for them to do, and they'll say, "Oh no, we haven't really got anything interesting." And now I can go to them and go, "I've got a video of me taking the bins out with 40,000 views, so I think we can make your factory interesting," or whatever like that. So, but no, I think it's I quite like the wholesome nature of it, and I've had, which I didn't expect at all. I get a lot of messages like every week. Whenever I put out a video of people who suffer from anxiety or depression or other mental issues, saying how much they help the videos. Some guy messaged me the other day saying he's just had his first kid and he's not, because of the coronavirus, the kid's struggling. Like, I don't know if he's born prematurely, but struggling, and got to the hospital, and he's not allowed to go into the ward because of the virus. He says it's really stressful times. He said he just came home, and he said, honestly, I reckon I watched 10 hours of your videos just to calm me down and things like that. So I get loads of these lovely messages I didn't expect at all. But they're the nicest messages I get from people.
That is amazing. Useful. That is lovely. I think that must be because a lot of other creators, a lot of other things you see on YouTube, you're going to get roped in to comparing yourself to that lifestyle, and that makes you feel shitty about your everyday tasks. But because you're talking about the everyday tasks, you're putting the emphasis on them, and there's no reason why you can't enjoy taking the bins out.
Yeah, and a lot of things, and everything on my channel is nice. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing. I think you might not like my videos, but I think it's quite hard to hate them. There's not much offensive stuff in there. Something that I'm not really slagging anything off. And I love, and I JaackMaate, I watch all his videos. I really love his content. And his a lot of critiquing of things. But it doesn't, but I couldn't do it just because I would be too, I tend to go, the other thing, well, they might just have had a bad day. This I don't know what's going on in their life. And all this. The best example of that, I'm going massively off topic again. My friend Alex Fordham was on a tube once. He lives out, I think, Walthamstow way. He was coming into London, And just to go, it was really packed. It was a really busy thing, and there was some sort of banging into someone or some altercation with this guy, and they had words, and they're like swearing at each other, like you F off and all this sort of stuff to each other on this train. But then they were on a packed train for the next 25 minutes. They just stood next to each other having had this argument for the entire thing. They got into central London, the stop, and the other guy just turned around to him and went, "Mate, I'm so sorry. I've had the worst morning. This has gone wrong. This has gone wrong. I'm really, really sorry." I just went, "I know. I'm sorry too, mate." And all this. And the guy goes, "Do you want a hug?" And he goes, "Yeah." And they just had a little hug, and then they went their separate ways. It was such a lovely story because it was such a real anger. They were just both like, "Oh, sorry, mate," because they've got separate things going on.
That's amazing. That is lovely. So obviously you do a lot of gardening and homegrown on the YouTube. Those are things that are scientifically proven to improve people's mental health as well. It's quite often used on like psychiatric recovery wards. They have like gardening programs. Is that something that benefits you? Do you notice a benefit from it?
Yeah, I do. I love, like this morning I went out for a bit, just for in my pajamas, just for a walk around the garden. I just see how the plants are doing and things like that. And I like, so being outside and gardening's enjoyable. I think it's good for the kids to get them out as well. I think being outside in general, I've always liked being outside, and it always makes me feel happier and like going for a run or sort of just going or a walk or something like that. I just enjoy the outdoors. I think it does people a lot of good. And I know it's when people do ask for advice on mental health. I've never suffered from depression or I thought I'd never suffered from anxiety, but I felt anxious. I'm not quite sure where the line comes between being anxious and suffering from anxiety. I only just thought that relatively recently. But there have certainly been times where I felt anxious in life. But when people do ask for advice, the things from friends I know who've been through these things and struggled, you always feel bad saying it because it's the things people hear all the time, like do some exercise, go outside and all that sort of thing. And you go, well, I know it's sort of cliche, but it's sort of, there's a reason for it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I certainly do find being outside and gardening relaxing and enjoyable, and it's rewarding as well when something comes through. And like I was afraid, just thinking, I don't know if our potatoes have worked. I think I might put them out too early. Maybe the frost comes when they still leaves up. You go there in the morning, they're coming through. You go, yeah, come on.
It's those little wins. I think the younger generation, especially my generation and below, we are used to having like an instant fix to everything. So when we read stuff that says you need to exercise regularly, eat healthy, we're sort of used to, can I not just watch a 10-minute tutorial on YouTube that'll fix my depression? We're sort of used to that.
But I think I didn't suffer from depression. I had very low confidence when I was younger, low self-confidence. But I've worked at that, and I've read self-help books, which I got quite a bad reputation. Things like I'll listen to podcasts now or something like that to keep going. I think you do have to take. I always like to think it's not necessarily your fault that something's happened to you, but it's your responsibility to sort it out because no one else is going to. Like everything I do in life is to make me happy, and that sounds selfish, but it doesn't have to be. Like giving my kids a great start in life and helping them grow into fully rounded people makes me happy. So if you're not a psychopath, that should involve some kind of being nice or something. But you have to sort of go, okay, these are areas I'm not good at. These are things I'm not good at. These are things I am good at, sort of thing, and try and help yourself work out. Because there are things you can do. I read a great book when I was 21, when I was in Canada, I think it's called The Confidence Course. Do you know what? I will very quickly Google it so I don't get this wrong because it's a great Confidence Course book. My printer just made a noise. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's by Walter Anderson. It's called The Confidence Course, and it's not. I'm sure by today's standard, it's not revolutionary sort of thing. There'd be a lot of other things around that are more detailed than that. But it was the simple bits going, this is the situation here. This is do this exercise for a bit. And it might be every time you walk in a room, stand up tall or something like that. Pretend you're being lifted up. Just things like this, or do this, say this, and you can work your way through it. And I would come back to that book every now and then when I'm feeling a bit low, going, okay, there we go, let's work our way through that. So I do think people can help themselves, and obviously some people have had horrific backgrounds, and it will be harder, but no one else is going to do it for you, really. So you do. There's lots of things around there. There's lots of good resources, and now with podcasts and the internet, it's so many things out there, people that you can listen to or on podcasts like that. It's there's a lot of options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a process, just the same as physical fitness is. You have to train. Same with your mental fitness, you have to train that as well. So happiness to you is the well-being of your family, would you say?
It's your main source? No. I mean, that's part of it. There's a lot of things. It's living a stress. I'm very good. I worked out that I need to prioritize my happiness, and I'm very good, I think, at working out what makes me happy and what doesn't. And having a nice car, I don't care about. I'd much rather spend the money. Going skiing, I love. That will make me happy for the 5 months leading up to it, the week I'm there, and then afterwards talk about the memories. That once or twice a year, and I'm pretty much sorted. But I know also what doesn't make me happy. I don't like driving in central London because I don't like the aggression of that. So if I've got a shoot in central London where I've got too much gear to take on the train, I will drive my car as far into central London until I start to get stressed out by it. I'll go and park somewhere and I'll get an Uber for the last half hour because I know the £10 or whatever it will cost is worth it for my happiness, sort of thing. Yeah. And then at the end of the day, get an Uber back to my car and drive home, sort of thing. Yeah. So I think I've got better with age and experience at knowing what makes me happy, what makes me unhappy, and trying to maximize those things.
Mm-hmm. Are you quite people orientated? Because obviously YouTube is a platform that sort of, it benefits from the collaboration with other people. And I've heard you talk about some of your stories, like the legendary FIFA tournaments with your friends, which I imagine when you strip that back, it's not about playing FIFA. I imagine it's probably more so about connecting with your friends.
Yeah, there are people who every year who will ask what button is shoot. There's people who will train up for it. And my friend Al, who's the GOAT of FIFA tournament, he will treat it as a full-time job training for it because he wants to win it. There's a trophy for the most horrific foul. So some people just try and get that trophy sort of thing. There's something for everyone, but it's about the day. It's about the build-up. We have a closed Facebook group where it's just videos of us abusing each other. And I was doing this before I did YouTube more. I put more effort into it. So I'd go and film all the 16 people in it and just get them to slag each other off, and then sit on this and then release a video every day or a couple of videos every day building up. It wouldn't take me long to edit. Of people just hammering the other people in sort of nice, pleasant ways. People want to. Yes, yeah. I think I'm quite good at talking to people. I think I've become quite good again with practice, and I think I'm generally fairly likable. Yeah, people don't tend to hate me. I think it's. I think I've got that sort of self-awareness of emotional intelligence. Probably, I think is sort of what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Would you like to go into YouTube full time eventually?
Yeah, I think so. I've been thinking about this more recently because my aim was going into it was because I do a lot of my work is going on with a camera and going and filming something and it's fine now, but I'm 43 now, and I'm thinking, when I'm 53, am I going to want to be getting on a train to film Cal Freezy playing FIFA with someone? I don't know. Maybe I might be. I'm not sure. And I'm also aware that I like skiing. If I went skiing and broke both my arms, I can't film. I can't edit. That's a lot of my income gone. So I've been trying to sort of diversify things. So, but my plan was 5 to 10 years. I thought in 5 to 10 years, I'd like to make a significant, not necessarily, a lot of my income from other stuff, like stuff that's more sort of personality based, like podcasts or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's gone a lot quicker than I thought. I'm not by no means could live off it, but I make a decent portion of my income from podcasts and a little bit from YouTube. So I can see in time that if I keep going, that'll build up. And this year I've started taking it a bit more seriously. So I've started things like tracking metrics on like social channels and stuff like that. So the first of each month, so today I'll go through and go, I've got this many people on Twitter, this many on Instagram, not because it makes me like I'm the big man, I've got this, but because it helps to go to a brand and say, I've got 110,000 people on these platforms sort of thing. It's for business sort of thing rather than any ego thing. But so I've been trying to take it a bit more seriously in that regard to take to that next level. And so I think collaboration and stuff like that I'm going to try and do. And I would like to get onto it eventually, but I'm not in a huge rush, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Oh, now that you're quickly becoming one of the UK's most famous bin enthusiasts, do you ever find yourself having a bit of like a what's the word? Thinking like a celebrity? Are you ever like out and about and you think, oh, they've recognised me? Pennies dropped. They recognise Robbie Knox.
Well, when I was at Soccer AM, it was like I wasn't like Madonna. I could get to the shops and stuff, but because of the age I was and the places I went, and because I was on a show that was very popular for men of my age in particular, if I went out for a night out to a pub, someone would recognise you or would come and talk to you or something like that. And it was weird, and it's quite a weird thing. Fame in the loosest possible sense, in that it wasn't necessarily a bad thing or it wasn't a good thing. It didn't really change anything. It was people were generally nice. You'd have nice conversations with people and all this, and it was funny things would happen because of it. But equally, it's a weird feeling walking in somewhere to a bar and having a conversation with someone, but you can also see out the corner of your eye someone nudging their mate or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think I was always very grounded at Soccer AM, and most of the guys were. But you can totally see how young people get out of control by buying into it. So I was very aware. None of these people don't actually know me; they just have seen me because my job happens to involve being on the screen, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But this time round, it's certainly not as well known as I was then. But I don't really go places where I'm going to be noticed as much. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the viewers are probably like 18 or something like that. Yeah. I'm not hanging around outside
of V-Fest or somewhere in the city.
Well, you say, yeah. But so no, I mean, occasionally, like people do come up to me and say hi and have a chat. It's very nice. But I'm not out that much. I'm sat at home where everyone is now, so fine. Yeah.
Okay, so as we begin to sort of round this up, I have a few sort of mental health questions to ask you, if you don't mind. What are the main things that cause you stress or anxiety, or just general down feelings? What gets to you?
It's a very good question. There's lots of things. I mean, anything that's out of your control that's not fully out of your control. I think I'm quite good if something's completely out of my control, I won't worry about it. Like what happens with lockdown, I'm not worried about at all because there's nothing I can't do anything about it. It doesn't matter. But I think it's the bits where you know you could do something to sort it out, but they're not. But I've not, if you know what I mean. Yeah. But I find there's things I do to manage it. If I'm feeling stressed, I will, following on from writing things down at Soccer AM, I've got a notepad and I will just write, first thing I get up in the morning, I'll just write 3 pages of A4 paper normally, just listing whatever is in my head and getting it down there. Because quite often when you write down these things, go, oh God, I've got this to do. And I go, you write it down and go, yeah, I've got to do this today. And you look at it and then you sort of go, I could sort this out in 15 minutes. I could phone this guy I've been putting off for a bit, get it sorted, and then the worst thing that can happen is this happens, or maybe this will happen, sort of thing, and you can sort it out. And then, so I find writing things down help a lot. I don't know. I think when you get older, you become the little things worry you less because there's so much more stuff that's gone wrong in your life. Like one of my best friends fell off a cliff and died when he was like in 2005 would have been. So once that's happened, you're less bothered about, oh God, I said something a bit embarrassing to that girl the other night. Oh, it doesn't matter because my mate fell off a cliff. So, do you know what I mean? So it's sort of more bad things happen. And then you have kids and then you're so worried about something might happen to them. Mm-hmm. The other bits, less and less things matter. Like I remember being at uni and I remember saying something. I remember being drunk in the bar and I had a conversation with a girl and I remember being so embarrassed the next day. But now I can't remember what it was. I can't remember what she looks like. I can't remember her name. I remember the person whose friend it was, but I haven't seen him for 20 years. Like it's so completely irrelevant. But at the time, it was obviously such a big thing. Yeah. So I think when you get a bit of distance, then it sort of all gets in perspective.
Yeah, broader perspective, absolutely. Do you have a biggest fear in life?
I mean, like something, I guess now it would be something like a kid dying or one of my kids dying or something like that or something horrendous along those lines. I not much beyond that though. I mean, I was thinking about this earlier today actually because my 6-year-old son came in the night to me last night because he had a bad dream. And then I said, okay, John, you're right. John, talk about it. He said, so that's okay. So okay, back to bed then. He came back a minute later and said, I started asking questions about fires. Like, if there's a fire, how will we get out? And so obviously he had a bad dream about a fire. And so then I just sat up at 2 a.m. with him for about 20 minutes just talking about, well, no, we've got these smoke alarms and they're so quick. So, well, what if you couldn't get out there? Well, we get out the window, we do this. And don't worry, because before the fire started, when it's just smoke, that's when the alarms would go off and we get everyone out. And all these questions answered, all these sort of things like that. But like now, I'd never worry about fires. Do you know what I mean? So it's I don't know. I'm aware that when you're younger, you worry about more stuff, and then now you sort of say, whatever. Yeah. I can't remember what the question was. I'm just talking about fire.
Yeah, just your biggest fear, if you have one. It sounds like you don't really.
Yeah, so I don't have many fears apart from obviously something happening to your kids or someone you love, like everyone, I guess.
Fair enough. And finally, I always like to end with the same question, a bit of positivity, a bit of positive reflection on yourself. What about yourself are you most proud of?
Quite a lot. I'm proud of the way I'm raising my kids. I'm proud of doing good for people. These messages that people send me on YouTube, and that I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that, and I'm proud that I think that that I know how to make myself happy now. From bringing back some mental health, I've done the work to get to a place where generally I'm pretty happy, when I wasn't always, and I think I'm proud of that. And it's things like I'd have no qualms like going to therapy or anything like that sort of thing. All these sort of things, all those sort of things that certainly when I was younger, there was sort of stigmas around and all this sort of thing like that. I've done enough stuff to go, God, no, bring it all on, and working at sort of mental health so that I'm proud of. I've done that work.
Great stuff. Well, Robbie, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
I've loved it. A lot of fun, this. What a great podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much. Where can our listeners find you? What's your social? Okay,
if you want to watch a video form of me, you can go to my YouTube channel. You can search Robbie Knox in YouTube, and I'm on there. If you like football, as you quite possibly do here, I do a football podcast called Football Legends that's exclusively on Spotify, where we read bits from footballers' autobiographies and talk about them, and we have footballer guests on. I also do a podcast called JaackMaate's Happy Half Hour with JaackMaate that's quite popular, and I do a podcast during lockdown called Cooped Up. So any of those things, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, just search Robbie Knox and you'll find me.
Great stuff. Thank you again, Robbie, and thank you for listening to the Football and Feelings podcast. Cheers.